a very warm welcome from Hong Kong. In this video I'll be talking about this, the X100VI. I've now had this camera for just over a year. I say camera, I've actually had two of them. I'll talk more about that in a bit. And in this video I want to talk about what this camera is like after a year's worth of use. It's had a few firmware updates, the actual build quality has changed, more on that later. And my opinions on this camera have changed as well. Like with all gear videos, it's important to state a disclaimer. I have no relationship with Fujifilm, nor am I affiliated to them in any particular way. All cameras, this one and the old X100, I purchased with my own money at full retail price, and I am not in the business of promoting their brand or selling their products. Now, as to why I've ended up with two X100s, I managed to pick up the limited edition one when it launched. I wasn't a fan of the silver color, but I figured it's limited edition, it'll be cool to have a limited edition camera. And if you're a camera collector, then yes, I guess it's cool. But if you actually like to use your cameras, that's problematic, as I'll explain later in the video. I was in Japan a couple of weeks ago and found one, believe it or not. So it was a no-brainer, good price. So now this is going to be my main X100, and the silver one, the limited edition one, will probably be sold by the time you've seen this video. Let's quickly talk about build quality, and this is a bit of a more complex topic since I've had the two cameras and since I've experienced a few things. So let's start with the limited edition camera. As I've said in the original video a year ago, it does feel like build quality has dropped a little bit, especially with the dials. When you turn them, there's a bit more friction, and generally speaking, when you interact with the camera, it feels, compared to the X100V, that the build quality has dropped. With that said, when I picked up the X100VI Black, so the normal one, the other week, that does feel like it has a better build, specifically with how the buttons and the dials feel. I suspect, because there's a year between these two cameras, that they've had the chance to fix any issues or any complaints that people have had. That could be why. It could also be that perhaps the limited edition one went through a different build process, I don't know. So whilst the overall build quality is still a little bit less than the X100V, I would say that now on the normal edition that I have, the gap is much closer, and unless you're specifically looking for things, it feels very good. Certainly if I compare it to the X-T5 that I used to have, it feels like a better build camera. Now with the limited edition one, I had a big issue where the paint on the hot tube peeled off in hot weather. I say hot, it was June in the Mediterranean, so it was only about 30 degrees, not exactly boiling, and the paint basically lifted. So you're seeing a photo of it right now. I shared a photo of it on social media. I don't think Fujifilm was particularly pleased that I shared that, because they were in my inbox very quickly. And this is where the limited edition camera has its drawbacks, because in order for them to fix it, they couldn't replace the part because the part is limited. So the camera had to go back to Japan to effectively be repainted, and it took about 8 weeks. Again, that's not a problem. It's just something to keep in mind. I'm just being very kind of honest and upfront with my experience. Other than that though, I have not experienced any issues with either camera. It's been reliable. It froze once, I think, but which camera doesn't freeze? I mean, this DJI Action just froze on me a second ago. My Sony froze on me last week. I think that's just part of dealing with technology these days. The screen is firm, the doors are all fine. Now, the weather sealing, which is appropriate right now, I wish the camera was weather sealed. Maybe they've done it for packaging reasons, I don't know, but yeah, it's only weather sealed when you add an optional filter, and considering they're charging like what, £100 for that filter, it seems like a bit of a money grab. I think for the price you're paying for this camera, it should have come included in the box. But again, I am not in a marketing department or a sales department, so what do I know? Performance is good. It switches on instantly, which is such an underrated feature. If I compare it to the Leica, the Q3, which takes a while to switch on, being able to switch the camera on and instantly use it can literally be the difference between getting the shot and missing it. My biggest issue with the performance, however, is that it only uses a UHS 1 SD card, which in my opinion is pretty cheap considering how much this camera costs. The 40 megapixel files and the high-res video. There should have definitely been a UHS 2 card slot. However, I am not the engineer, so maybe there was a packaging issue, maybe it was a heat dissipation issue, who knows. A very good morning from another day. A few things have not gone to plan so far. Number one, still very cloudy. Everyone moans about the UK being cloudy, but I've barely seen the sun in Hong Kong. Number two, I've developed a horrific allergic reaction to something, and my eyes, there's a lot of red around my eyes, so I'm not quite sure what that's about. Luckily, I can just keep the sunglasses on. So, let's carry on with the video. Fun factor. That is something that is often overlooked in major camera reviews, because whilst we focus on autofocus points and resolution and image quality and all these things, fun factor gets pushed aside because for many people who cameras are tools to get an end result. And I think as more and more people are getting into photography as primarily a hobby, a way to de-stress, a way to explore the world instead of making money and shooting for clients, fun factor is becoming a lot more popular again with cameras like the X100, Q3, Ricoh, and even that new Fuji that's just been released, like the JPEG only thing. They're aimed at people who want to have fun with their cameras. Now, is the X100VI fun? Yes, it is very fun. I think the optical viewfinder definitely adds to the experience in terms of not feeling like you're shooting on a digital camera, and it does kind of put you in the environment and in the scene a lot more. Also, how compact it is, you can easily throw it in your pocket if you have bigger pockets at least. Certainly not tight jeans, will not work with that one. But generally speaking, this camera has been designed to be fun to hold, to use, and they've not gone for perfection. I'm sure that if they really tried, they could have put the best autofocus system in here. I'm sure if they really tried, they would have put a bigger battery or other features that people always want. However, they've just gone for something that works and that people already know and love. Is this camera fun to use? Yes, it is. Now let's talk about ergonomics. And look, for such a small camera, it's definitely going to be trickier to hold it like this. At least this one has a bit of a grip on the front. Some cameras like the Q3 don't, and that's literally like holding a bar of soap. With this, at least there is something to grip onto. I would say though that this camera is better around your neck on the strap or around your shoulder on the strap. If you're using a wrist strap and you're holding it in your hand, I would say that having maybe a thumb grip or like a grip extension is going to be better, because I find myself really kind of squeezing this camera so that I don't drop it, or if I'm not using it, I will just kind of hold it like this. With a bigger grip, you can just let it hang on the grip, which makes it a bit easier for your hand if you're hand holding it all day. I'd like to take a moment and thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I've been using Squarespace for over 5 years as my online photography portfolio, where I share my best work from all the trips and shoots. Having an online portfolio is important because it's your little corner of the internet that you can arrange however you like. I would also encourage everyone to start an online blog about their photography. Having a blog is the best way for your website to stay relevant on Google because there's fresh content always being uploaded. Not to mention, it's a great way for your website to become more searchable through SEO. Squarespace offers powerful blogging tools that will allow you to publish blogs from anywhere on any device. Squarespace also offers powerful analytics that help you understand where your readers are coming from and what they're searching for. If you're an aspiring photographer, having your own website is important because it will elevate you from everyone else. For a free trial followed by 10% off your first purchase, please use the link in the description or use code RomanFox when you check out. Thank you for Squarespace for sponsoring, and thank you for watching. Well, good morning from the third day. This video is not really going to plan because it's taking me 3 days to try and finish it. Yes, there was a good start, however, ended up bumping into Jared and later Jeremy, two great photographers from Hong Kong, so I've linked them below, please do check them out. And we ended up just shooting, having coffee and just chatting. I did get some great shots for this video though, that you'll be seeing throughout this video if you've not seen them already. And let's get back to the point of this video. We left off at ergonomics and buttons. So overall, on the X100VI, you don't have many physical buttons. Initially, I was a bit kind of not annoyed by that, but I thought it would be a drawback. However, again, for the purpose of this camera, I didn't find myself wanting to reach for more buttons. And also, having used this now for a year, I think that any more buttons would just overcomplicate the camera, and I think there's just the right amount at the moment, especially with the thumb dial that can actually be used as a button. There are only two things I don't quite like about it from a button perspective. Number one is the OVF EVF switch, which works as a switch when you're actually looking through the EVF. When you're normally, like when you're not looking through it and you just push it, it's a button. However, you have to press and hold it, and maybe face detection on and off will be good by just pressing and holding it so you don't accidentally trigger it. But other functions, I found them to be a bit annoying to just press and hold. You know, your mileage may vary. And the other thing, and maybe it's just me, please tell me if it's just me being an idiot, but the on and off switch, it protrudes the body a little bit. So I find myself catching it all the time. I don't remember having this on the XH2 or the XT5. I don't remember having this on the X100VI either. So now and again I'll pull the camera out my sling and it'll be switched on. Or I'll be holding it like this, for example, and I'll look at the screen, it'll be switched on. So is it a big problem? No, just something that I've noticed. Oh, and there is one more negative thing about the buttons I've just remembered. Unfortunately, how you set them for photography or for video will carry over. So if you set them specifically for photography, when you go into video mode, that doesn't change, that stays the same. In other cameras like Leica or the Sony that I have, for instance, I just compare it to those because that's what I have, you can have different functions for video and for photo. With Fujifilm you can't. It's not exclusive to this camera, even on their top of the line X-H2S, it's exactly the same. Why they're still stuck in 2010 with this approach, I have no idea, but it is what it is, something to keep in mind. And also switching between photo and video mode is a pain in the ass. Whoever designed it needs to be fired because you have to first go into the drive mode, then you have to scroll all the way down to video, and then you're in video. And if you want to switch back to photo, you have to repeat this process again. With a similar camera, let's take a Leica Q3, you can customize one button, you press it, straight away you're in video mode. So yeah, if you're responsible for that, you need to sort it out because it's crap. let's talk about autofocus. Honestly, it's not that good. It's fine for what it is, it's fine for the purpose of this camera, but if you compare it to any decent modern system, this is pretty average at best. It's physically moving in and out, it's making noise, you can even feel it through the camera, and for still subjects or slow moving subjects, not a problem at all. Put it in AFS, point, shoot, it works. However, there are times if you want to use continuous autofocus or to track something that's moving, it can hunt around, and even in single autofocus, there is a lower hit rate compared to something from Sony or even Leica. Now, those are very different cameras, different price brackets, I get it, but when you can buy, I don't know, let's just say an XT50, which has the same sensor, and buy, let's say, an F2 Prime, which has a later generation focus motor, for probably the same price as this, if not less, and have better autofocus performance, I don't know. I suspect they had to use this design to get the lens this flat and compact, so that's a trade-off. I think that's what it is. But it's one of those. It's something to keep in mind. If you really want the best autofocus performance out of a Fuji system, this camera is definitely not for you. Image quality, and this will be the shortest section of the video because it's the same sensor that's been used on Fuji cameras for a while. I've accidentally switched it on, and the image quality is great. Pretty much the vast majority of my photos from not this year but the previous years were taken on this sensor, and I have zero complaints about the image quality, and it's just great. The colors are fantastic, the image is sharp, there's plenty of resolution if you want to crop in. I mean, right now you're seeing a bunch of my favorite images taken on this sensor, and I couldn't ask for a better quality sensor, let's put it that way, in image quality. Is it the sharpest thing in the world? No. If I compare it to my A7R5 with a GM lens, for instance, of course that's going to be sharper, cleaner in the shadows, better low light performance, etc. But then that's also like 3-4 times the price, so you kind of get what you pay for. But for most photography, even at nighttime, this will be absolutely great. And the same applies to video. Now, whilst this does have really good video features, and I've used them to get the odd clip here and there, I don't think I am very well versed to talk about the video performance, simply because I just haven't used it enough. The person who has used it and pushed this camera to basically the maximum that it can do video-wise is my good friend Eren. If you watch a bunch of his videos, especially the cinematic ones, many of them are shot on this camera at night. A lot of his photographs I've taken on this camera at night. I've linked a few of his videos below to check out, because rather than talking about specs, which doesn't really get anywhere, if you actually see the results that he's created with this camera, then it'll give you a good idea of what it's capable of.
Jesus Christ.
And finally, there are a few little bits and bobs that are worth mentioning. First of all, the IBIS is very good. Secondly, the ND filter that's built into this camera is a lifesaver, and once you've used a camera with a built-in ND, it's pretty hard to then use a camera where you have to actually use a physical ND because of how inconvenient it is. So why would you need an ND filter? Now obviously the mechanical shutter speed doesn't go that high because it's a leaf shutter, so you'll need that if you want to shoot wide open and not use the electronic shutter. But more importantly, you can use it for creative shots like motion blur. So if you want to get a motion blur shot at 1/30th of a second at midday, you would need an ND filter. For video, if you want to shoot and keep the double frame rate rule, you'd need an ND filter, especially if it's during the day. And if it's just assigned to a custom button, you press it once and you got your ND, that's a luxury that's definitely missed on every other camera that doesn't have it. The battery life is pretty average. I wouldn't say it's amazing, nor would I say it's awful. If you don't do video and you just stick to photography, you can get a full day out of it. If you plan to do video as well, you would definitely need a second battery. However, with that said, The USB-C is fast charging on this, and I just carry a small battery pack, plug it in, and then whilst I'm having coffee, it will give me an extra bar or two, and that will keep me going indefinitely. So I'd rather bring a spare battery pack, but again, for you, it might be a bit different. Another feature that often gets overlooked is this flash. Whilst I personally don't use it for my photography, I know people that do, and if you're out with friends, you're at a party, it's dark, this can really give your photos a bit of a pop and certainly make this camera more useful in more situations. And the final feature that I'm sure you know by now is the amazing JPEG capability of the camera. Out of all brands, in my opinion, this has by far the best JPEGs, and in terms of quality, in terms of color, in terms of the general look, and even in terms of how much you can customize it. There are so many different variations of JPEGs that you can make out of this camera, and there are plenty of websites and blogs that give you all sorts of different recipes to emulate film or create something completely unique. The only camera that maybe comes close is a Leica, because they have Leica looks and that kind of stuff, but even that is so far off this in terms of features and just the quality, that I think if you primarily want to shoot JPEGs, you don't want to edit your photos, I think this is probably the best. I mean, not this particular camera, but Fujifilm in general, but obviously this comes in a smaller package. Okay, so let's summarize. Is this camera worth it? Who is it for? Will I keep it? All that kind of stuff. Now, will I keep it? Yes, it's a fun camera to use now and again. I definitely will never use this for any serious photography, nor will I use it for most of my travels, because I'd rather rely on a more capable system for both photo and video. However, if I'm going out with my friends, I'll stick this in JPEG mode and throw it in my sling and have it there just in case to capture those memories. I took it to a music festival with my friends. It was perfect for that. In terms of whether it's worth the money, honestly, if you're looking at this as a luxury item, an accessory, then yeah, I think it's kind of worth the retail price. Is it worth more than retail? Absolutely not. If you're looking at it from a practical standpoint, you want a nice Fujifilm camera, I would honestly look at something like an X-T50 plus the 23mm f2 prime. You'll get pretty much the same results. I mean, maybe this lens is a tiny bit sharper if you really pixel peep, but fundamentally you'll get the same thing, but in a much more affordable and practical package. If you really want to get into photography and you want to take it seriously, then I probably wouldn't get this. I'd rather get an X-T5, spend a few £100 more and get the 23 prime, and you'll get a much more capable system in a package that's not that much bigger than this. And this is why I think the X100 line is a luxury item, and it's hard for me to recommend this camera and to tell you, yes, you need to go out and buy it. In the same way, it's impossible for me to recommend a Q3 because of the price and who it's aimed at. What I would say is, if you have disposable income and you want a fun camera that you can just throw in your bag, take on holiday, take with your family, with your friends, get some great photos and have fun using it, then yeah, in that case, I think it's worth the money. And as for who it's aimed for, who the target audience is, well, I think there are three categories. Number one, you have street photographers and travel photographers, but those who err on the side of minimalism, they just want one simple system they can throw in their bag and that's it. This focal length is perfect for that. You also have professional photographers who might have a giant Canon or Nikon or Sony kit for their day-to-day work, but they want something fun and small for weekends for their personal work. And you just have people who like the way it looks. Just here in Hong Kong, walk around and you'll see plenty of people with one of these around their neck. Many people look at this camera as a fashion accessory, and it is a very stylish camera. So if you just want better photos than your phone, but look good at the same time, maybe get one of these in silver or black. It's up to you. So yeah, overall, great little camera, if you can find one.